My name is Boots Allen, and the fly I'm tying for you today is called the monkey mouse. I started tying this several years ago when I started fishing in Mongolia, going over there just on personal trips and then to do some research for my PhD. The monkey mouse came about primarily because one of the trips I wasn't able to get animal hair into the country for quarantine reasons, so we had to come up with another type of item. And I had seen a mouse pattern developed by a great tyer in Western Wyoming named Will Dornan, and showed me another very good and very effective type of body material, which was basically chenille. And the idea behind it was that when rodents are in the water, most of their body is submerged, and the chenille is going to allow this fly to submerge much more than your regular spun deer hair mouse pattern will. I'm going to start off by using a saltwater hook. This is a Mustad 34011, the 34011. It's a really good saltwater hook. This is their equivalent of a size 2. They also have a 1/0, a 2/0. It's a very good saltwater hook. Very stout, which you need for a lot of these fish that you're going to fish with it for, or fish for it with. Now, a stout hook and a big fly is going to also require some stout thread, and this stout thread I'm going to use is 3/0, just your simple, very tough thread that people have been using for ages. Get this hook covered. And the first piece of this fly, after you got the thread on, is putting on a tail. And the tail I'm going to tie on is a strip of antelope hide that I just pre-cut from some antelope hide that I have. I like antelope hide because it's a bit softer. It's easier to cut through, and so you can just use your simple tying scissors to trim away a fine piece of antelope hide without really damaging your scissors that much. So that's what I've done with this, and I'm going to secure that on there. Bring it forward right about to there, and that's going to help me indicate where I want to end this material. Pull it forward just a bit more. There we go. So there's your tail. It's white right now. When I finish this fly, I'm going to color it in with black. You can color it in with a prism marker. I'm just going to use a simple black Sharpie. Color it in, give it a black look. You can kind of see it has a little bit of fiber to it. If you look at the tail of a lemming, or you look at the tail of a mouse, you're going to see they'll have some fibers and hairs to it as well. So this gives it somewhat of a realistic look. Next piece of material we're going to be tying on to this fly after we get the tail in is basically a shellback. And this is going to accomplish two things. One, it's going to create a little bit more flotation for the fly, because as I did say, you want that fly laying low in the water, but you still want something to kind of keep it up towards the surface. And we're going to use this two-tone foam. You can see black, white, and black. This is made by Right Way Sports. Still dark, but it's going to allow you to see that white strip. Believe me, when you're fishing in dark light, this is that white strip's going to come in very handy, no matter how big this fly is. So, start by tying that on there. The other thing this material is going to do is it's going to help create a bomber effect. At the head of the fly, I'm going to kick these two pieces of foam strips up, and that way when you skirt the fly across the water, it will do something similar to what your classic bomber patterns would do. So we finished tying that on. Going to leave all of this exposed because it's all going to get covered up by the body material. And the body material is ice chenille. Ice chenille has a little bit more flash, little flashy pieces and particles in it. Gives a little more flash than what you'd see with a regular strip of chenille. So that will get tied in. Now we're going to do the legs, and the legs consist of 4 strips of 4 rubber legs. You can see there's about 4 right there. And we're going to use 4 of these. And what I'm going to do is just knot these. You can use a knotting tool, but we're dealing with so much material here that a knotting tool doesn't really, well, it's just not really required. And if you're out in the bush trying to tie flies, the fewer tools you have, the better. It's just a lot less that can get lost, and a lot less, adds up weight-wise. You have fewer tools, the less weight you're going to be carrying around with you. So I'm going to form a couple knots. One will be kind of a knee joint, the other will be an ankle joint. And that's going to be the leg, and I'm going to make 4 of these. And then I'm going to trim away a little tiny piece right there, and that's going to create little tiny toes. Something like that. So you got a knee joint and an ankle joint and some toes. And we're going to go ahead and you do 4 of these and you start tying these into your fly. So now we get the legs put in there, and now I'm going to begin to wrap the chenille forward. Before I do that, I'm going to twist the chenille, get a little bit tighter. And I will begin to wrap all of this forward. And you just have to weave your way through some of these legs. we're a little bit far forward, so I'm just going to give this a little push backwards like that, and that creates some more space right there. Howard Cole, one of the great tyers from the Rocky Mountain West, has a very, very good rule, and that is do not take shit from your material. If you're too far forward, give it a little shove back. You know, you're in command of your materials. And that's what we've done right there. Now we're going to wrap the shell back forward. Doing one here. And one here. And now I'm going to whip finish the front of that. Give that a snip. And then you just trim these down just a wee bit. Then I'm going to cut them at a slight angle. And that is your monkey mouse. Monkey mouse received its name because when we first started tying them, it had an extremely long tail, very long legs, and it looked more like a monkey than a mouse. This piece here that we just kind of snipped that and lined it out, that does create this bomber effect. So you swing your fly through, hit the water, and you just start stripping it in, and that will create a wake within the water that can attract fish. I use it a lot for taimen, but I'm also using it for pike in Russia and Kazakhstan, and you can probably use it for a lot of different freshwater species out there. Make sure that you color that in with a little bit of black. That's what I'm going to do here. I typically wait and color this in at the end because a lot of times this ink will not have time to dry and it'll end up starting to mark your foam. Not that big of a deal, but it does make the fly a little less pretty. So that's your monkey mouse. Go catch some taimen.